Okay, for time's sake, I think we'll go ahead and get started now. Good afternoon and good morning, especially to all of the presenters who are from the West Coast today. So welcome everyone to the fourth virtual series. We'll be covering affiliate management with the database. Just a few housekeeping things before we get started. You all are in listen only mode. We are recording the webinar so we can provide it to you to share with others afterwards. We'll do our best to answer your questions. You have both a chat box and a question box, and Paulette Dallas will be manning those questions. We'll do our best to answer them at the end. If we don't get to all of them, we will include them in a document after we're done here today. So as always, reach out to your RD with any questions or concerns, and welcome to the webinar.
Hi everyone, thank you for joining us today. It is just so nice to see so many of the names that have been joining us in all of these sessions, and hopefully you're finding these sessions extremely helpful. Today is the topic of affiliate management with the ACE database. And why do we keep bringing up the database and compliance? Compliance is just so important to all of us to make sure that we keep the program safe. And the database is the main tool that we will utilize to track compliance. 100% compliance is necessary to make sure that our students, our volunteers, and our program stay safe. It's really important that every mentor has a background check and it's renewed every 3 years before they have access to the students. Students must have a completed parent consent form, especially if they are a minor, to make sure that we have the necessary paperwork for the students to participate. If there's ever a problem for the program, ACE will have to prove that we took the necessary steps to protect our students, our volunteers, and our program. And that proof lies within the database. The database is our only way of tracking the proof that we did what we needed to do for the program. But the database is also a wonderful way for us to track the statistics of the program and use the data for marketing, fundraising, and other overall communications. Today, with the lead of Andrew Frankel, the person who oversees the database for ACE National and ACE program overall, we'll review how to utilize the database, not only from the perspective of tracking your students, your mentors, and the compliance, but also how to use the data for you to help market your program. We've also invited 2 affiliates to give some best practices and share with you how they utilize the database and how they make sure that the program is safe. And then we will answer your questions. Know that our regional directors, Andrew and I, are here to answer any questions. What's really important is that every affiliate appoints someone to be trained on the database, to oversee the database, and make sure the necessity of the compliance is being taken care of. Before I hand this over to Andrew, I just want to bring up 2 points of follow-up that we would like you to make sure that you do. And one is, we've got a number of you that have given us the mentor liaison contact, but we still have some that have not. Remember, the mentor liaison is the person that will be trained to assist your affiliate to help your mentors if ever a difficult situation is faced with the students. So please make sure you share with your regional director the name of the mentor liaison contact for your affiliate. The other thing is that our insurance renewal is up in 5 days. September 15th is our official renewal. Know that we are working on the renewal as we speak. We have no insight as to what it's going to look like. As soon as we do and we have some costs, we will share with all of you. Again, if you have any questions, please let us know. Thank you for joining us, and I will turn it over to Andrew.
Thank you, Diana and Monica, and welcome everybody to this affiliate virtual session on affiliate management with the ACE database. We have a lot of great presenters today, and we're covering a number of topics that I know a lot of you are very interested in. I know that database and compliance is one of the most exciting topics that we deal with in ACE. So it's an action-packed presentation. I'd like to say that, while I will go into some detail into some of the sections and features available, being able to cover the whole database in a short session is just not possible. We could spend hours talking about each little section. So we did select some of the sections and features that we think are most relevant, and based on your feedback, are topics that you'd want to hear more of. So I'm going to be covering affiliate pages. We have some updates to that, and also there's some features in there that we think would be really helpful for you to know if you don't already know, for more efficiently managing your affiliate. As well as I'm going to talk a little bit about the new compliance section and some of the features that are available there and how to use it. We're lucky to have Ron Zuccaro from the SF Bay Area affiliate. He's the longtime chairman of that affiliate and now is in kind of database management capacity there. He's been working on ACE and in the database for longer than probably anyone, over 10 years. He's very familiar with the old database and has really dived into the new one and has some great best practices that he's going to share that he's found to be useful in managing from the affiliate perspective. And drilling into more nuts and bolts, we have Kari Smith-Haight from ACE Portland, and she's going to talk about how her affiliate has been successful in managing the compliance of consent forms and background checks. In fact, her affiliate has 100% compliance on consent forms, which is a remarkable achievement. And so I'm sure she has some great insight into that process that everybody will want to know about. And then at the end, we'll do a Q&A. There is a question chat feature. So if a question does come to mind during the presentation, go ahead and type it in there. We'll try to get to as many of the questions as we can at the end. And if we run out of time, we'll provide typed responses to those questions. So again, I'm going to be covering the affiliate page. Also, I want to just do a quick review of the admin guide and the importance of the database administrator with the ACE affiliate. And then I will talk a little bit about some search features and functions, as well as export features. I wanted to share this. This actually appears in the database administrator guide. I'm pretty sure most of you know about this, but I think it's important to review. Can't stress enough how important it is that every affiliate have at least one individual who is responsible for overseeing the overall administration of the database. Now, can you have more than one? Certainly. But at least one person who's familiar with all the sections and is sort of overseeing the management of all the different aspects of the database, that's really crucial to keeping your affiliate running smoothly from a compliance standpoint. And so, if you don't have that, it's a good thing to bring up with your regional director. We can kind of support you and give you some resources and share more best practices with how to make that happen. And as a reminder, just compliance items in the database. Mentors, they attend 2 or more meetings. They're required to undergo a background check. Guest speakers, if they attend less than 2 meetings, no background check required. Returning mentors must log into their existing mentor profile in the database. In the past, we had bigger issues with people creating new profiles instead of logging into their existing profile. There is a password recovery feature if they forget their password. Also, as national administrators, we can actually help with password retrieval as well. So if there's an issue, reach out to us. There's a weekly report email that goes out to anyone who is assigned as a database administrator. And this is a nice flow chart that Zoo created, which is also available on the tools site to kind of give you an idea of the different participants and what the requirements are for each one. So the admin guide is really key to any database administrator gaining a really solid understanding of how to use the database effectively. When you log into your profile, it's going to be in the affiliate section under resources. There's a link there. There's also a link to all the other guides that we've created for the various roles that would be administering the database or folks who are registering, etc. But the database admin guide is really going to be your go-to source. If anything comes up, we essentially walk you through how to utilize each particular section. You know, a lot of the questions we get, the answers are already in the database admin guide. So if you're familiar with accessing that guide and using it as a resource, a lot of your questions are going to be answered in there. This is an outline of all of the topics that are covered in here. This is constantly changing and evolving. You can see we added some new information about the new compliance section that we added. You have information about how to gain access as an administrator, using the search features, managing registrations, background checks, statuses, assigning sub-admin access to other administrators within your affiliate, managing the affiliate section, which we're going to talk about in some detail today, as well as teams. So it covers all the main points. If there's any time that you find there's not something in here that you're interested in knowing, you know, reach out to us. A lot of the things that we add in here are based on the volume of questions we get about particular topics. So everything that's in here is something that, you know, we've got a lot of feedback from you all about wanting to know more about it, so we added it. So we've actually recently changed the way that, as an affiliate administrator, you would log in to access your affiliate page. It was previously set up where you had to log into the affiliate almost like its own profile with username and password as a separate login process from logging into your main profile. So the recent change we made is now you just log into your profile and you're able to switch over to your admin role from there, and you can now access everything on the affiliate page from there. So we're phasing out logging into the affiliate profile altogether. That created a lot of confusion. We had to add like 2 pages in the admin guide to explain the difference between logging into the different places. So now when you log into your profile, in the upper right corner, it'll tell you which role you're logged in as, right? So in this case, Lois Lane is logged in as a volunteer. That's the individual profile. If Lois goes down here and selects switch to affiliate sub-admin, full permissions, now she's going to have access to all of the administrative stuff, including the affiliate page within her profile. So that's how you sort of switch between your individual profile and the affiliate profile. One of the reasons why we made this transition is because anyone who has access to the database, as you know, must have a current background check. And the only way to administer a background check through the database is if you have an individual profile. So if you are your affiliate's administrator and you don't yet have an individual profile, talk to us. You know, basically you would register as a mentor and indicate that you're going to be the sub-admin. And you know, we can make sure your background check information is connected to that. But ultimately, this should make things easier for you. You only log into one place. You don't have to worry about remembering 2 sets of passwords. So not everyone is aware of some of the options that are available in the affiliate profile. So you can see here, we're now logged in as the sub-admin, full permissions. So Lois Lane went in and switched to her sub-admin profile. She went down here and selected affiliate profile, and then she selected to edit the affiliates page, okay? So you sort of see the stats on your affiliate. Whoops. I want to draw your attention to these 2 sections here. You have the subregion feature and the affiliate description. Now, I know a lot of you are already using this, but I also know a lot of affiliates are not utilizing these features. So I think it's important to cover this. The subregion feature essentially allows you to enter in any subregions you want. They can be actual subregions. In some cases, we have affiliates who use team names. And what this does is it creates a dropdown for student and mentor registration. So when they're registering, they have the option to select whichever subregion they're a part of. Now, in some cases, the student or mentor might not know what subregion they're a part of. So this is really affiliate specific. In the case of, I think, Denver, they use this to indicate all the schools where they have teams. So of course, the students know what school they're in. And that provides some help with the affiliate admin in organizing the students into the particular teams they're in during the registration process. Saves them some time on the back end from making those team assignments. Now, similarly, the affiliate description is a great way to get information to any applicants to the program during the registration process. When you add information or links or lists or whatever you want to put in here, when they select your affiliate during the registration process, this information will automatically pop up. So if there's anything important, program start dates, any additional requirements that your affiliate has for that applicant, or if you want to give them a link to like a map of where all the teams are, or any important instructions you want them to have sort of ahead of time before your program starts, this is a great place to do that. And we know that a lot of you are using this and found it to be quite useful. So the new compliance section is also within the affiliate profile. And when you go into it, you'll see that there's actually two main sections of documents. So this is going to be moving forward where we're keeping all these very important required compliance documents. The upcoming virtual session, we're actually going to go into much more detail on this. So this is just sort of an intro for now. But essentially, it's broken into two types of documents. On this page here, we have recurring documents. These are documents that typically need to be updated, annually or every so often, things that change over time. And then the permanent organizational compliance documents are documents that are usually a one-time thing. So it's your articles of incorporation, state registrations, tax stuff, that sort of thing that most of you had to do when you started your affiliate. So this will become the sort of depository for all this important affiliate information. We also added this other relevant documents. This is really for your own internal use, being that your affiliate will always have access to this page, even with turnover of affiliate leadership. New people will be getting access to the database. So it's a common place, safe place where you can store this important documents, as opposed to like on someone's hard drive. So if there's anything else that's not in one of these categories, you have the opportunity to upload that and save it here. The other thing I wanted to show you is actually we're going to be moving forward also requiring that we keep our current board of directors lists in here as well. So it appears as one of the recurring compliance documents. When you click on it, it takes you to this page here. And this gives you a lot of options in terms of how you are going to get your board list up here. There's a template you can use that has several categories, name, email, board role, etc. So you would download this, then add your current board list to it, re-upload it, and they're automatically going to populate in here. Once that list is populated, you can actually make one-off changes right from here, or you could upload a new list and overwrite the current one. You have several options. It's just really based on the size of your board, how many changes you need to make, etc. But this is really where we're going to be keeping records of current board of directors. This is something that we've been working on for a really long time. Again, we'll be talking more about it in the upcoming session, but I just wanted to make you aware of it now. So wanted to talk a little bit about some of the search features. When this database was new, there were a lot of kind of glitches and issues with the search. We didn't have as many features at that time, and I think a lot of folks who were using it at that time may have tried and had some issues and maybe decided you didn't want to come back to it because it wasn't working for you. Over the last several years, we've taken a lot of feedback. We're constantly going in and smoothing things out, adding new features. So some of the things that you can do now that you couldn't do before, when you search for a program year, for example, you can actually add as many program years as you want. So when you click on, this is just a screenshot, but when you click on this, it brings up a drop down of all previous program years. You can select whichever ones you want. So if you want to do a more focused search for program year, or some of the other drop downs as well have that feature. I think the program status and the role. This is the student side, but on the mentor side, the mentor role, you can search multiple roles. So if you want to see like all, mentors and team leaders, you're able to do that. A lot of these options down here are really helpful for organizing and compliance stuff as well. If you're trying to track, for example, all the students who have not completed their consent form, you can sort by received, not received. If you're trying to track, again, this is more help with consent form stuff. If the student did not provide a parent email, that sort of sends them down the paper form track. So you can search based on if they have a parent email or not, and that gives you a sense of which students are using the paper form. You might want to reach out to that group specifically. We've also added this medical condition section of the consent form. So the student and parent both have the opportunity to indicate to us if the student has any kind of medical condition. So this is really helpful, especially for team leaders. If you just want to check and make sure that you understand the sort of medical concerns of those students, you can sort for those students specifically. Or even as a database administrator, if you want to see across your affiliate which students have medical concerns, so that you can make sure you're providing the necessary support to the team leaders to support those students. You have that opportunity. So those are just a few of the features. Now, while you can do a whole lot within this search feature, a lot of times you might want to perform a much more sophisticated search than what this search page allows you to do. Happens all the time. I spend a lot of my time doing that. You can always export to a CSV. And just to show you an example, these are all the fields that the students are filling out in their registration. So really, it's quite sophisticated what you can pull up here and perform, all kinds of queries and more complex searches in a spreadsheet. So that's my part of the presentation. I know I only touched on a very brief portion of the entire database. Just so you know, I'm always available. There's a handful of you who reach out to me quite regularly, and I find those communications to be very helpful for me when I'm looking at, what are the areas of improvement, what are the change orders that we can undertake to improve the database. And one of the people that has been most instrumental along those lines is our next presenter, Ron Zaccaro from San Francisco. And Ron perhaps spends more time in the database than anyone. And he's always going in and spotting issues and reporting them back to me. The amount of reporting of those issues that Ron has done has really led to the database being so much better. So I really want to thank Ron a lot for that. And so he's going to talk a little bit about some of the best practices that he and the San Francisco ACE program have developed to run their affiliate more efficiently. So welcome, Ron.
Thank you, Andrew. As Andrew mentioned before, I've been managing the San Francisco database for almost 11 years now. And I was part of this, the beta test team that was put together to do quite a bit of the testing on the new format. And Andrew was right. There was a lot of things that in the beginning didn't work properly. So we've worked through a lot of that. One of the things that I wanted to kind of talk about today is the sort capabilities, which may be a little bit of a duplication of what Andrew just talked about, but we've developed a hierarchy of who does what. We use the sub-region feature, which you'll see. This is kind of a 1,000-foot level description of how we do things. But Andrew, why don't you go ahead and advance to the next? Here we go. So this gets kind of an overall view of what happens, and you'll notice there's a person called a team compliance coordinator. That is a new role this year. I can tell you that we are not. I hate to admit this, but we learn from things. We're not 100% compliant. I think we're 99.9%. However, there were 3 or 4 students last year that, for whatever reason, slipped through the cracks and did not have consent forms on file. So we've got a couple of volunteers for our affiliate. That's all they do is ensure compliance. They're not affiliated with any team. They're kind of floating in the middle. There's 2 people. They actually each one of them handles half of the teams, and they're designated sub-regions. And what their jobs are in the beginning are to assign sub-regions based on, well, the easiest thing that we've done, and Andrew mentioned this too, we actually can load in last year's information into the sort field, and so it's pretty easy to figure out where people were from prior years. So that works out pretty well. The new people, we rely on basically what they put in their application, and we go from there. Maybe if you could advance to the next slide. So there's go back one. There we go. So there's a collaborative effect here between the regional council leaders, the team compliance coordinators, and then the team leaders. They all work together to populate the teams, and of course to ensure compliance. We haven't taken the responsibility away from the team leaders, but yet it's a coordinated effort for everybody. Our leaders have basically told us that they're really more interested in making sure that the curriculum is important, and they get and we understand that. So over time, we're trying to make it easier on the team leaders because they've got a huge amount of things on their plate to accomplish. So that's one of the reasons also for the compliance coordinators. Okay, if you could maybe go to the next. There we go. So I wanted to, this is a screenshot, so it's a little bit hard to see it, but those are some examples of our subregions. Our subregions are, we have 9 counties in the San Francisco Bay Area, which covers a big number, 7,000 square miles of real estate. So we try to assign everyone to a subregion so we can do some analysis, as was spoken about earlier, at the end of the year, who's doing what in a particular subregion. And then maybe advance to the next slide, please. And then here's a view of our teams. We just use kind of a abbreviated subregion and a team number for our teams. And it's, again, there's a pull down menu. Those are all set up by me, actually, in the beginning. Okay, so maybe go to the next one. And then here's an example, and Andrew spoke about this earlier. Since compliance is so important, here's an example of students who currently don't have consent forms on file. It's by clicking the box, you hit the search button again, and it narrows the search down to only those students who don't have consent forms. That's shown on the next slide. You can move that up again. There we go. There's the results of that search, and you'll notice under parent consent form, they all say no. There's actually 12 of those, and I don't think that's changed here in the last few weeks. The next step, of course, is to do some outreach. So happens that every one of these students has included a parent email. So guess what? The students are notified along with their parents. And what we're trying to do too, and we've gotten some feedback from some of our younger mentors who, in one particular case, one that happened to be a former student, that they think that the students may respond to text messaging better. And maybe email is not the right way to do it. So we're exploring a couple of text messaging apps to try to get the students' attention. That's something other people may want to consider too at the same time. Okay, and then maybe go to the next one, Andrew, if you can. All right, and I was asked to show the attendance feature, which my understanding is some of the affiliates aren't using this. We have a requirement in San Francisco for each team leader to update attendance in this module every week. So once the teams are established and the people are loaded into the teams, which is the view you're seeing, this particular one goes 10 mentors and I believe 19 students. Oops, here we go. You can hit the view attendance button up at the top right there where I've highlighted it, and then maybe go to the next slide. There. Okay. There's the results of what you get by hitting the attendance portion. There's a little bit more information on this slide. Shows the number of students again, the number of mentors, and then the total numbers. And then down on the left-hand column, it'll identify who is a mentor, and that's a broad category. Again, it's every adult. It includes mentors if you have guest speakers and or school champions that may be on the team. They're all in the mentor category. Everyone else is a student. And then up at the top in the header, those are user. You can customize those for your particular team, and you'll notice that in this particular one, they've put a description of what the session is going to be and then the date. Some of our teams choose to number the sessions. At the end of the day, this matches the spreadsheets that we've all used for years, those Excel spreadsheets that talk about scheduling. It's nice to have those loaded in ahead of time at the beginning once the schedules are established. And then the other part here is the engagement types. You can see up in that blue section, they talk about present and excuse. It really equals present. You need to be careful with that. What we noticed last year by marking people excused, it almost shows that people are actually in attendance 100% of the time. And where that could be a problem for you is if you're grading students on actual attendance for scholarship grading. We have to look at that, take a harder look at that to make sure that for those students who actually are there every time, and we've had students that are in attendance 100% of the time, it's hard to grade them the same as for people who are not there a few times. So it's something to look at. And I think that's all I had, Andrew.
Great, thanks, Ron. That was wonderful, and I'm sure very helpful to a lot of folks. I would just add, to continue the conversation about the, excused. We put this key up here so, anyone marking attendance would understand when you're marking someone excused, that means you're, giving them present as far as their overall percentage goes. So, that's something that each affiliate, in some cases, each team will need to decide what it actually means. If someone is excused, do you want to give them credit as if they were present and sort of mark this accordingly? So that's a good conversation for, affiliate administrators and team leaders to have, at the beginning of the program year, just to make sure they're on the same page about how they're going to be marking it. But this is how the system works. So it's good to know that when you do mark someone excused, let's say you give them all excuses for the whole program year, they're going to have what appears to be 100% attendance. So it's a good thing to know. So thanks again, Ron. And I'd like to introduce now Kari Smith-Haight, Program Manager of ACE Mentor Program of Oregon, who's going to talk about a little bit more details about the consent form management as well as managing background checks. And I will highlight again that ACE Portland gets 100% compliance on their consent forms, which I think is amazing. And so welcome, Kari.
Thank you, Andrew. As Andrew said, I'm Kari Smith-Haight from the ACE Mentor Program of Oregon. This is my third year as the program manager, and I will say it is a paid part-time position. Our program enrolls around 150 students and 100 mentors each year. So our teams are made up of students from multiple schools, and they meet at mentors' offices in normal times. So we're not based in the schools, but we work really closely with them. So even before I started working for ACE Oregon, ACE here has been very proactive in making sure all students have completed consent forms and mentor background checks. And I wish I could say that there were some magic tricks and tips to getting this done, but in reality, it is more like herding cats. But what is required is that every mentor and every student needs to be approved, as Diana mentioned. Mentors and students must be registered in the ACE database. Additionally, mentors must have current background checks and complete their online training, and students must have a signed consent form. And again, this is really important for liability, for ACE, for our affiliates, for mentors, and also it's really important to know if there's an emergency, a student emergency, whom can you call that has been approved? That a guardian and parent has said, yes, this is the correct person to contact. So here in Oregon, it's required before a student may participate. Every year they must submit a new consent form. This is not meant to exclude students in any way. It's again just to protect both ACE and the students. And this has been true of any youth organization I've worked for. So we just continued this practice of you must have this done before you're allowed to participate. So here are just some of the approaches that we do. One thing we call our registration and application, and we publish a deadline. Kind of creates a sense of urgency, like this is when we expect it to get done. It's not an automatic enrollment, but we don't screen students to leave them out. We just require the completed application, and that includes the consent form. So to help get this done, last year when we held in-person information sessions, either during school time or after school time, we encouraged interested students to grab a computer or Chromebook if they were available, to create an account in the database at that time, complete their registration. We could sit there and help them through that process and let them know their guardian or parent should be receiving the email from the consent form. Some of the information sessions we do in the evening, and parents and guardians were also in attendance, and we helped them through that process as well at that time. The other thing we stress is we will take any kind of file format possible. We can usually convert them into some sort of PDF or into a PDF to get them uploaded into the database. It may be they need a paper, and we will scan it and get it in. Just anything to help them get that consent form completed. So this is sort of a review of what Andrew and Ron have mentioned. We start recruiting in the fall. We'll start soon, and our program starts in January. So that gives us some time to start tracking registrations. About a month before the deadline is really when we start looking at, okay, who has not completed their consent form. And again, in the student search, you can see who you can select who has not received or finished their consent form. And again, this will sort it for you. You'll see the list. One thing I just wanted to show here is the name is called Test Account. That's my practice account. I go in and I see what's it like to be a student. What do they run into? What are some issues? What does it look like getting the email about the consent form? And just try to learn that side of the database to be able to help them. Again, this is how you can export the information. You can select on the consent form status, and below is just a little screenshot of what it looks like when it's exported as a CSV file. So then comes the fun part, communicating. So one thing I started doing last year that was really helpful from a time perspective is using a Gmail merge. So once I'd exported information, the names of students who still needed to complete their consent forms, I could do a mass mailing with the attachment of the consent form. And they could be individualized and just send them out in batches. The other thing when it comes time to consent form is really trying to keep my emails as clear and simple as possible. It's just a personal rule of mine after working with youth for many years is don't require any more than 3 steps in a process. And again, make the subject line really telling and give them the basic information. I send these emails first to the students just to let them know, hey, please finish your application. And then when we get close to the deadline, I send it to the parents and any secondary emails. And also we work closely with school contacts, and I rely on them to say, hey, the student was interested. Can you please help them complete this form? So this is just a basic email of template of what I would send out. Say deadline tomorrow. Hopefully they'll realize some sort of urgency, include the actual date in the email, and then steps to what they specifically need to get done, and try to simply guide them through this process. Again, we set a deadline, but we still work with students after that deadline to try to get them in the program. It's not to be a barrier, but it's still to help us manage getting our teams formed and just assigning them teams. So in the database, if you go into an individual student's account, there is a way to send the consent form, again, directly to the parent. If they say, oh, I didn't get it, or if you think that's going to their junk mail, you can also, there's a link, consent form link for parents. You can copy this link, yep, right there, and send that in a direct email to them as well. And those are really helpful, particularly if you've made contact with a parent through email and they're saying, I'm not getting this, or if a student says they're not getting it as well.
Yeah, Carrie, let me just cut in there for 1 second.
Yeah.
We do sometimes have issues with this where, administrators are copying lots of these links and sending them to parents, and they We've had a few cases where it sends it to the wrong parent. Just know that these are unique links that are only designed for that particular parent, for that particular student's profile. So if you do end up sending it to the wrong parent, weird things happen. And then you're gonna have to call me and I'll have to sort the whole thing. So just something to be aware of. This is an incredibly useful feature. I know lots of affiliates use it. I use it a lot. I get a lot of emails from parents who are, reporting they're not getting the email. It filters to their junk mail folder, or their email provider blocks it through their firewall. They think it's like a spam from ACE. So in some cases, these are necessary to allow the parent to complete the digital form. Sorry.
Yeah. Nope. Thank you, Andrew. Yes, that's good to know. And the mentor background checks, they're required every 3 years. Again, we require them or they're not allowed to participate. We rely on team captains as our team leader title. They're really helpful, sort of that peer pressure to remind mentors, hey, can you please complete your background check? And in some ways, it's easier with the mentors because I can also just call them and say, did you get the email? And they're volunteering. They're really eager to help. But it's still the same process for students. Still the same communications and reminding them. And there also is that link within their account to send them directly to their background check. So I guess I wish I could offer a really easy solution to getting everyone signed up. And I'm always looking for new ways to make it easier. As Ron mentioned, last year we started looking into using the Remind app, texting students. But we also realized we rely heavily on email for communications. And we want to establish that communication early before they're in the program to make sure that we can reach them. So one of the ways is just constantly reminding them or trying to connect with them via email. And ultimately, the goals are to get students and mentors signed up and complete their applications, really get them into the program. We want to remove obstacles and do what we can to help them. And ultimately, bottom line is to keep everyone safe. Thank you.
Great. Thank you so much, Carrie. That was wonderful, and I'm sure very helpful to folks out there. And I know, all of you probably have developed your own best practices. We're always interested to hear what you're doing around compliance and anything else related to the database. So, please feel free to share. Couple things I'd just like to add. I think a lot of us rely on the database a lot, and in some cases we might assume that using the database, putting the information or sending the invite is enough, and the database is this magical thing that will just do it automatically. But as you've heard from Ron and Kari, it really does require some wrangling, herding of cats, I think Kari mentioned. It's a tool for us to use, but it doesn't mean that we don't have to do anything outside in the real world to get both students and mentors compliant in there. So I think with a little bit of strategy, a little bit of effort and organization, it's totally possible. So thanks again, and we're going to move into the Q&A session. Paulette, would you like to introduce that?
Sure, thank you. Thanks, Andrew. So we have some questions, and we actually have, so the questions vary. So one of the questions was about text to students. Jennifer, if she is still on, maybe she would like to talk about her text she uses through text. And the question that comes up a lot is about the pricing. There's lots of various different, I know a lot of affiliates are using the text to students. Her pricing, she says it's $100 to sign up, and then at 5 cents per text. It allows to share texting duties and to have pre-prepped answers that can be customized. Also, it gives oversight of everything sent to a student, and they've budgeted $300 for this for text. Jennifer, maybe you can talk a little bit about, if we're able to unmute her.
I did, yeah.
Okay, perfect. How many students that covers, and maybe like the process of it a little bit.
Yeah, so we just started using this last month, so I'm not super aware of what I think in the past they just sometimes one-off actually texted students from people's phones. And we were worried that because we can't go to schools to do outreach, that we wouldn't have students signing up. So, and you know how students are with emails. So I investigated this and we decided to do it. We put down the $100, and we did a lot of texting to about 80 students who did the program last year, who had not yet graduated, to tell them about these online student information sessions we had and to encourage them. First, there was like a initial text that went out to tell them about the first session, and then if they answered and said, I can't make that one, we would tell them about the next one. So you can put in answers ahead of time and then customize them as appropriate. So if a student said to me, I can't make it because I have a new job, I could take the pre-prepared answer that's like, oh, so you can't go on August 25th. Can you go on August 27th? And I can also say, congratulations on your new job or whatever. So it's like normal. It's not like a robot. The goal is eventually to share texting duties. Right now, it's only been me. So the first month, I don't know how many texts we sent, but I was texting quite a bit, and we just got our invoice. It was $22. So anyway.
Great. So they bill you.
Great, Jennifer. I'm curious, are you administering that as the affiliate administrator, like across the whole affiliate, or are you able to provide licenses to individual team leaders through that account?
So yes, I can. The goal is that each team leader will be doing their texting for their students. Right now, I just have as users our student coordinator and our board president, so that they can see everything I've sent. But it just so happens I've been the only one texting so far. But that you don't need another license. The $100, you can include many different people or invite. I don't know what the maximum is, but I know that for us, it was enough to be able to invite our 5 team leads to each have a account on there. So our site leads.
This is a good one. This is, what is the difference between an excused student versus an absent student?
Yeah, and I answered that and put it in the wrong question box. So I probably just confused everybody.
No problem. Maybe you want to go ahead and give the answer.
Yeah, so really that is not something that I'm aware anyway that National really defines. That's a feature we added to the attendance section to allow team leaders and affiliates, to have another category should they so choose in marking attendance. And the way that we've set it up, as we explained earlier, is excused is equal to present in terms of the calculation of students' overall percentage. So it's important as a team leader or affiliate admin that you understand how it works, but it's really up to you to determine how you want to use it, or maybe you decide, we're just not going to use excuse, it's too complicated. There's no like national standard for that. That's more just an additional tool that we added for your use.
Great. And yeah, what I've heard from affiliates is, say if a student has something that they know they're going to miss the session, maybe a game or some kind of other activity, if they let them know, and follow up, that's an excuse, because if they might be using that for scholarships reviews or something. So they'll know, hey, the student was absent, but they did let us know. Maybe that will help with the decision making.
Exactly. Or, they had to go to a funeral or something that was out of their control. It gives you the option to not penalize them for missing that particular session.
Here's a question about texting as well. Those using text, did the students have to opt in because they are minors? Do they, what kind of process does that entail?
So, I only have general knowledge. Maybe Jennifer has more specific info on the program that they're using in Boston. But, we on our tools page under the communications resources, we do list, I think it's GroupMe is one of the texting platforms that we recommend. And I believe that platform does have some kind of opt-in process for students. Now, there's like dozens or more of these programs out there. So any one program, you'd have to kind of do a little bit of research and figure out. But I'm fairly certain that that GroupMe has a process for opting in.
And this is a question. I'm a member of a small chapter of ACE. Since we will be virtual next year, all 4 schools that participate will be in one virtual meeting. Would you still recommend assigning 4 teams, or just keep it as one since they're going to be all together? There are about 7 to 10 students at each school.
You know, I know that a lot of affiliates are exploring sort of different ways of combining teams and making the sessions like topic based as opposed to location based. I think, you know, there's no easy answer to that. All bets are off in terms of what's going to work, but I think that is something that is worth considering. Certainly would make things easier on your affiliate if you were able to have more students attend, you know, fewer sessions as opposed to the opposite. So, you know, worth exploring. I don't know if anybody else wants to add to that. But
I know that in some cases they're doing a combination of that. So they might have one large group get together, so all of the kids on one call, and then a side group with the team. So there's also that opportunity.
Yeah, that's a good, you know, and I think this is actually one of the positive developments in this whole story. You know, there's a lot you can do virtually that is impossible to do in the physical world. So, you know, we're kind of excited to see what innovations come out of this program year from you all. You know, you'll probably figure out pretty quickly what works and what doesn't. And, you know, we'll be here to help share those best practices.
Great. And how about registration of affiliate board members, especially from an insurance coverage perspective?
So when we launched the new database, we were very gung-ho about 100% of board members must register in the database. Well, guess what happened? Board members don't like registering in the database, no matter what we did. You think getting student consent forms in was hard? Our compliance for board members registering was very low. And so it became clear that system just wasn't going to work. You know, busy board members, they don't want to take the time to register. And that's why we developed the new board member list in the compliance section. So that is not board members going in and individually registering. That is, you know, the affiliate administrator, who should already have a current board list, uploading all those names at the same time. And that's how we're going to address that issue.
And to confirm, that will be the insurance coverage that they will need for their board members.
Yeah, so just know we have told the insurance carrier that we have access to all board members via these forms. So please, it's one of the compliance things that is on the list, is the board list. Know that is extremely important for the insurance. So if something happens and we need to prove somebody was a board member, we'll go to those lists.
Great, thank you. There's another one.
Paula, did you answer Sue's question about the opt-in? I'm sorry, did I miss that?
Yeah, Andrew just went over that a little bit. Did you have something to add to that?
It is something that I have brought to Steve Charney, our legal counsel, about the fact being virtual. There might be one-on-one conversations via text, via phone, and do we have the right to utilize students' numbers? And basically what he said is, as long as it's part of the registration process and the parent know, and I don't think we say it on the parent consent form, but he said basically as long as we have it in the registration process, and part of the process is the parent consent form, that yes, we can utilize students' phone numbers. So Sue, if you want to give me a call, I'd love to know what they told you about having to opt in.
Yeah, I mean, regardless of, you know, what our legal counsel says, I think it's something that we should look out for if it's possible. I think it's just a good practice to be in.
Right.
And the question is, have we made any different further decisions about in-person sessions?
No, the decision has not changed. The decision is the same, no in-person for the fall. I will tell you one affiliate, I think it's Ohio, is looking at doing a hold harmless law. I told Steve Charney, again, our legal counsel, that if that gets passed, will it change our decision? And he said that basically at that time, if any state does pass it, we can look at it to make decisions. But at this time, we are still, for the exact same reason, exclusion of insurance coverage, we are saying no in-person student meetings.
And just to clarify, that is for this fall 2020. We haven't made any decisions on January 2021.
No.
Okay.
Now, 2021 will probably not be decided until October 19th.
Covers it. Angela has a few questions, but I'll reach out to you. I'll reach out to her separately. And that's it, unless anyone has any further questions. We've gone through the list.
Great.
So we will have all of this out available to you to share and go back through in the next couple days.
Great. Thank you so much to all the presenters, and thanks everyone for tuning in. Take care. Stay safe.
Thanks, everybody.